Triple Trouble posted this little tweet on their social media pages. This is sparked off a massive debate. Are they getting picked up? Now, Bacon, this also so happens to coincide with another fantastic tweet from Red Reserve, and you can see it on screen as well. The timing is way, way, way too close for this. Are we going to be seeing Triple Trouble perhaps getting picked up by Red Reserve?
So I think it's a good bet, purely because Red Reserve have been knocking about trying to pick up an RLRS team for the past, I would say, 4 months, I'd imagine, since about the later end of last season of RLRS. They haven't really come to an agreement with anyone just yet, and that's because of how Rocket League contracts naturally work, where we live in a we have to deal with a two-stage, system with RLCS, RLRS. Players tend to agree to these contracts on a wage for RLRS, and then if there's events larger, like say they make it to RLCS, they'll get paid an even larger amount than what they do for RLRS. So it's near enough. Negotiations are quite hard to deal with Rocket League because, of course, it's very personal. No one knows for sure how much another team is earning unless the players want to come out, and generally they're not going to talk about it to the public. They may talk about it amongst themselves, and that's the right way to deal with it, professionally. But Red Reserve have been looking for ages, and if they're going to pick up a team, you're either looking at Savage or Triple Trouble, considering the amount of effort Savage are now putting into their marketing and how long Triple Trouble have been about. I feel like Triple Trouble, especially with that tweet where, they don't feel so good. They might be fading away because they're going to get picked up. It feels like it's good timing for them, and Red Reserve would be a great, fantastic pickup for Triple Trouble. Personally, because I think it's better for them to sort of focus on the RLCS next season, because I do think, personally, they're going to make it up there. And if they get picked up by, say, a Gfinity Elite Series team, I think that's just a bit too much for them to handle, essentially, having to play on the weekend in Gfinity Elite and then go to RLCS. I think Triple Trouble would make the best decision by going for an org like Red Reserve.
Yeah, and for certain, for someone like for a team like Savage, there's probably like a bit of a higher demand for those guys. Obviously, they as I was saying earlier, with the whole off-stream matches, they're probably aiming a bit for one of the top tier esports organizations, or even maybe a sports organizations that we got going with, like PSG and everything like that. There are some good football clubs I know that are looking for teams.
We saw a tweet.
I'm not sure who in particular right now. I'm assuming you're going to bring something up right here. Because,
I was going to say, Ty Lacto actually said that, I think it was yesterday in a tweet, that Secret, him and the rest of the team got approached by a football club. Not saying which club. He didn't say it all. But definitely football clubs at the moment are looking into Rocket League quite heavily. I think it was Doomsday back in the days before they signed with Reunited. I think, don't quote me on this, of course, that it was Man City were looking at picking them up. But it's a very awkward ground for these mainstream sort of sports teams that haven't done anything in it to suddenly pick up, because it's a whole different ecosystem to that what they're used to,
Yeah, but Savage are definitely aiming towards that sort of tier, because I think they are. I think they're probably a good shout, maybe alongside Team Secret as my personal top two of teams who are going to go. I think are going to go through to the RLCS next season, or at least will make that top two, so that when they get to the promotion tournament, whether they'll actually make it there is all dependent on who's going to be down in the lower portions. But I could see a world in which they're going to be going somewhere else. I imagine that Red Reserve might have to settle on someone like Triple Trouble, because Red Reserve's general tier in the esports world is not it's not like you're Fnatic, it's not like you're Envious, it's not like any of these other big name organizations who have teams in the top tier. They often act as like a feeder team.
Well,
and Triple Trouble, as much as I love those guys, certainly having some great conversations with Speed a few weeks ago, I do think that there are other teams in the RLRS that do rate a little bit higher than them.
Yeah, and just seeing in chat there, Red Reserve used to be FaZe's Academy sort of team, didn't they? And then they split off, became their own org. Red Reserve, just from the talks with players and that, they weren't looking for an RLCS team. So when this tweet came out, people were looking at We Dumb Girls, thinking, We Dumb Girls would be the best pickup from any org at the moment. No, We Dumb Girls are going to be looking for, I don't know, a certain amount of money, but let's just say hands in the air, double the amount that Triple Trouble would be looking for just because of that caliber. Red Reserve don't have that money. Like you said, they're not that caliber of team to be able to afford an RLCS team. So picking up an RLRS team, like you said, might be a problem if say Triple Trouble or whichever team they sign expect to go into RLCS next season. That could be a very interesting thing there. Maybe those ties with FaZe still stay, and they might have it in the contract that FaZe would pick them up if they moved up. Who knows? This is me just completely being basically abstract, speculating all of that. You've got to think then they probably don't have the money even if they do move up. So it's an interesting sort of area. They're expecting Red Reserve coming into this that there's going to be more high-end Rocket League events, Renegade Cups included, where they want a team that's of an RLRS level to absolutely wreck everything in RLRS, but not go up to RLCS. They're playing a very strategic esports org act, and I absolutely love it because it's really smart for the scene, of course.
I can't fault their business plan or their model at all, Red Reserve. So, you know, I pick up that Triple Trouble again. It makes the most amount of sense because, excuse me, this is a major coming in big on my voice. But, you know, I could see a way where, you know, Red Reserve could be the top teams in all the Renegade Cups and doing well in those sort of like regions, as well as that placing top 4 consistently in the RLRS, you know, especially if Triple Trouble is who they're going to pick up. So, and again, you know, it's a little bit too convenient how they're posting their sort of, you know, it's pretty convenient how they're posting these sort of these images, these memes, both around about the same time. You know, it all feels, you know,
way too convenient and nice.
Way too convenient. I think it's very similar to sort of like how we just all kind of figured out that Scrub was going to join Run Out Vitality when he said he was going to join an RLCS team. I think we can all pretty easily figure out that he was, you know, we're probably going to be seeing Triple Trouble as Red Reserve in the near future.
Yeah, that's what we pretty much expect as well. And I'm loving the Astralis sort of lover in Twitch chat as well.
Big Astralis that section was off the chain at the major.
And they were another org, which I can remember a couple of us as like commentators and personalities within it. We're trying to push teams to go talk to them. Like, we just want Astralis in Rocket League. That's all we want, really.
And that'll never happen. That'll never happen.
It doesn't seem viable at all for them, of course. But we've got a little bit of hope. We can make it happen one day just by nagging enough.
It's
happened with Ninja Pajamas, clearly.
No, because Astralis are actually owned by the CSGO players themselves. So I don't see any way. I don't see any reason why they'd ever branch out to another esport, unless they decide, fuck it, let's do Rocket League one day, you know, just like let's change esports.
Actually, a big point we can go on to there. Can you, like I was saying about Reunited with Doomsy's team back in season 2, they're originally a Overwatch team which was owned by the players, and they looked to branch out. They picked up Rocket League, and when that Overwatch team sort of crumbled, unfortunately Supersonic Avengers lost their org essentially. So going for these player-owned teams probably isn't the smartest thing to do if you're looking to get picked up by an org, because that org has to have stability, which if you're just players owning it and doing it all yourselves isn't really there. I mean, Astralis is a completely different sort of like question, because they're pretty much a top org because they're top players and they are, well, the top of everything essentially in CS, as we just seen from this weekend. But going for that sort of development is a bit harsh, considering those players probably don't have the time to invest in your team as they do as theirs.